Italian Football Podcast.
Adrian Angelo says, "Hi guys, great show. It seems this summer there will be a big turnover of players at big clubs. How can you run down 5 players who could leave the following clubs: Napoli, Inter, Atalanta, Juventus, Milan?"
Okay, right. Let me do all of those apart from Inter. I'll let you do Inter at the end. Okay, so let's start off with Napoli. Victor Osimhen will definitely leave this summer for release clause of 75 million euros. That's for sure. Frank Anguissa is considering a new challenge. There's interest from Saudi Arabia and from Chelsea. Giacomo Raspadori obviously played a pivotal role in two Scudetti victories, but he wants regular football. Roma are one of the clubs that are looking at him. Giovanni Simeone hasn't really played much the last 2 seasons. He's looking for first team football. And finally, Rafa Marin. He barely got a look in under Antonio Conte last season. He'll be sold almost certainly after a year at the club this summer. Maybe a loan, but he'll leave. Let's do Juventus. So Dusan Vahovic, 1 year left on his contract, transfer listed by the club. He'll definitely leave. There's interest from Milan and Atletico Madrid. Andrea Cambiasso, very close to leaving for Manchester City in January. Juventus could still sacrifice him this summer for a big offer if it comes in. Federico Gatti's one to watch. His renewal talks are in the balance. He'd rather stay, but Napoli's coach, Antonio Conte, absolutely adores him and wants him at Napoli. So that's one to watch. Douglas Luiz, of course, disastrous first season at the club. Juventus will happily sell if they can avoid a capital loss, which isn't easy. There is interest in the Premier League. And Chico Conceição, he spent the last season on loan. He will play the Club World Cup for Juventus, and then Juventus will make a decision on whether to keep him or send him back to Porto. Milan, right. It's a bit of a bloodbath at Milan this summer. Tijani Reinders is moving to Manchester City. That's a huge loss. Mike Maignan, 1 year left on his contract. Almost certainly he's going to leave as well for a very reduced fee, possibly to Chelsea. Then you've got Theo Hernandez, also 1 year left on his contract. He will definitely leave this summer for around 30 million euros. Rafael Leao is also considering leaving the club as well. Bayern Munich are preparing a possible move for him. And then you've got Ruben Loftus-Cheek. The decision was already made by Milan management several weeks ago to sell him this summer. Now that Allegri has come in, we'll have to see whether that changes. But Maurizio Sarri is at Lazio, absolutely loves him. So maybe watch that space. Atalanta. So Ademola Lookman, the club have promised to sell him. They made that promise to him last year when he tried to join PSG. He wants to move back to the Premier League. You've got Ederson. Contract is expiring next year, so it's very likely he will be sold this summer. Man United are massive fans, but there's lots of interest from him. Premier League, Saudi Arabia, other clubs. You've got Matteo Retegui, top scorer of Serie A, of course, this past season. Juventus are big fans of him. They're searching for a number 9, but there's also a lot of Premier League clubs that are looking at him. You've got Roberto Piccoli. He was on loan at Cagliari last season, had a good season, 10 goals. He will leave permanently this summer. And then you've got Juan Cuadrado. His contract expires. Doesn't look like he's going to sign a new contract, but he wants to carry on playing still at this level. Inter, Nima, do you want to do a run through of your 5 for Inter?
Yeah, Correa and Arnautovic are going to leave. Arnautovic has already said goodbye, and he's already officially made it clear that he's leaving. Correa's contract expires as well. Inter reports, saying that they could even consider letting him go before the Club World Cup, which is an interesting choice. So those two for sure. Davide Fratesi has been linked with a move away. We still have this Raspadori Napoli link. We'll have to wait how that pans out. Francesco Acerbi is linked with joining Simone Inzaghi at Al Hilal, and then you have a plethora of players: Mehdi Taremi, Stefan De Vrij, Matteo Darmian, Henrik Mkhitaryan, players whose future are very much up in the air. Whether that Inter could just mutually terminate those contracts. And with Taremi's case, if they were to find someone to take over his wages, they'd be more than happy to let him go. That's the feeling we're getting, but still no final decision made. But yeah, it's more than 5. That's 7 players, if I'm counted correctly.
Yeah, I mean, as the question says, a lot of turnover in Serie A. We're actually, as we're recording, the news, Pedolage has broken the news that Diogo Coppola is very likely to join Brighton. It's advanced, so we're losing another big talent. Actually, probably Italy's best player in that. Not that it was hard, but probably the only one that came out with a little bit of promise from that. He did make a mistake for the first goal, but on his debut for Italy against Norway, I thought he actually, other than that, I thought he did okay. So we're going to lose him. And this is where Serie A's at. Like when we're losing
to Brighton,
the up and coming players, and our big Serie A clubs can't even buy the up and comers like a Diogo Coppola from Verona, then you think, well, what the hell are we going for? Do you know what I mean? We're not talking about losing a Tijani Reinders or a Mike Maignan, because these are established players, and you kind of almost come to accept now that they're going to move on to it. But I can't accept us losing a Diogo Coppola to Brighton as well, of all clubs, a mid-table team in Premier League. And we're losing, our big clubs. You're telling me that Inter, Milan, Juventus, Napoli are losing Diogo Coppola? We can't even get him? That's when it becomes very depressing. Very, very depressing. I'll just go through those other 3 teams quickly, and there's not so much activity there. So Roma, Miles Vila is the big one. His contract expires in 2027. The contract renewal talks, basically Roma are paying him, are offering him far less than what he wants, and that's why it's looking probably more likely than not that he's going to leave this summer, which is a shame, really. And Milan are looking at him, but I think, again, this is depressing. Bournemouth are seen as the favourites right now to sign him. It's just depressing. Then you've got Tammy Abraham probably is going to be sold, and obviously Mats Hummels retired. So those are kind of like 3 that I would say for sure are worth looking at. Then you've got Lazio. There's a lot of interest in Nuno Tavares and Mario Gila. Pedula, I know, says that Nuno Tavares is unlikely because Arsenal have got 40% on him. And when you do the maths and the accounts, the plus Valenza would be so low, it makes no sense for them selling him this summer, that it's more likely that he'll stay for another year and then they'll sell him after, because then they'll get the capital gains on him. So, but there's a lot of interest in him, so you don't know. Someone might make a crazy offer. And Mario Gila, I thought, had a really good season. There's a lot of interest in him from bigger clubs, actually. So I think those 2, probably 2 to watch this summer. And then Fiorentina, Dodo, a lot of interest. I think Juventus are looking at him. I like him. I've always liked him. And Moise Kean, obviously wanted by a lot of big clubs, but it seems like he prefers to stay for another season, which I think is wise. Because
I was going to say,
get continuity for the World Cup, I think.
I agree.
And finally, Comuzzo is wanted by Simone Inzaghi at Al Hilal. Let's hope he doesn't move to Saudi Arabia. That's all I could say. So yeah, that's a little roundup. But we have our transfer journalist next week who will go into lots more details and will do this all really, really well.
Yeah, and well done, Carlo, on not blabbing about that. Who that is?
Oh yes, you got me. You worried me there. I thought I just said it. Yeah.
Oh dear.